Hello and welcome back to my channel, Thrifty Day. My name is Leah. I'm the creator behind Thrifty Day. Today's episode is going to be the finale for the primitive, upcycled Amazon padded mailer junk journal. That is a long title. I had so much fun working on this journal. There is a tutorial. I show you how I made this journal from a padded mailer, and you can watch that here on YouTube. But today I wanted to show you the final touches, and we're going to do a couple of DIYs. I'm going to show you how I make these little paper clips out of the Tim Holtz cutouts, and we're also going to make a very primitive journal charm to match the primitive theme. So I have all these little goodies that I want to make, and then if you hang in there, I'll do a complete flip through of the journal. And as you are watching this, it is listed in my Etsy shop and available, and it does come with a primitive ephemera pack as well. All of my Etsy information is linked in the description box. You can check that out if you were interested. But for now, let's get on to the primitive journal charm and the paper clips. So these are all just some very vintage odds and ends. Whenever I go to yard sales or estate sales and there are little junk drawers, I rifle through them and I buy all the keys and all the buttons and all the bells and all the little things, and I keep them all in jars for this very purpose. So this is all just little random things that I pulled out, little vintage goodness that I thought might be usable to create a journal charm for this very primitive journal. I love this journal. If you're looking for the process videos on how we embellish the pages, check out my shorts here on YouTube or my TikTok. We made lots of pockets and tuck pots. We did some decoupaging. We added trim, and everything is completely no sew. The only thing I did was sew in the signature with embroidery thread, but there was no machine sewing whatsoever, and I didn't do any additional hand sewing. So these are die cuts from the 2023 Tim Holtz holiday collection. I love his new collection. I love every collection. But I especially loved this bell. It spoke to me immediately when I opened the package. So I knew I wanted to use it here in this journal. I have a thing for Christmas bells. And there is a holly theme going throughout this primitive journal. It started on the cover, it carried over onto the inside covers, and there's lots of holly embellishments throughout. So I thought it would be appropriate to add this big, beautiful die cut. And I'm just adding Tim Holtz Distress ink around the edges and the back. So that way they're not just completely white on the back. They just have a very sort of rough look in the back, which is good. That's what we're going for because this is a very primitive journal. It doesn't call for a lot of sort of bells and whistles, if you will. So I'm just adding that on there, and I have 2 gold paper clips. My paper clips are 2 inches. And now I'm just going to use some of this age tape. If you're looking for an age tape tutorial, you can find that on my TikTok. My TikTok is linked in the description box below. If you'd like me to make one here for YouTube, just comment that down below, and that's something I'll get done. I love age tape. I use it in a lot of my journals, but especially in this journal. So I'm just going to cut that in half. And on the large part that isn't the actual paper holder part of the paper clip, I'm just going to tape it right to the back. Now, some of you may not like this sort of very, I don't even know, just unfinished look. I think it matches with the vibe of the journal, and I just sort of love it. If you don't love that sort of, you can see the tape look, you can use clear tape, and then you won't even be able to see it at all. So I'm using the age tape because I think it adds kind of a neat primitive vibe, and that's what I'm going for in this journal. So like I said, if you don't want to be able to see the tape, just use clear, completely clear, transparent tape. And the tape I use to do this is just from the Dollar Tree. So easy peasy. So now that we have our paper clips, we're going to add them right to the top. I love having things stick out of my journal on every direction. I just love it. I do that in every journal I have. My current personal journal has butterflies sticking out of it. So I thought holly would be really pretty. Yep, I love the way that looks. And now I'm going to add the bells. You can add them anywhere. Obviously, they're removable because they're paper clips, so you can move them all around. If you were making this yourself and you don't want them, just leave them out. If you are someone who purchases the journal and you don't like them, you can take them out and use them as bookmarks. So I like the way they look on the pages by themselves and the way they look sticking out. So it's a win-win. Thank you, Tim Holtz, for all of your beautiful products. So that is the first little mini tutorial. The next one we are going to do is create a very primitive journal charm. I'm going to use my Crocodile Big Bite for this. You can use the smaller Crocodile as well. I'm also going to use an eyelet. I'm just going to put it right on the top. And yes, I have eyelets in every color of the rainbow. Those are just the ones I keep by my desk. I have a million. I love eyelets. So, oops, some ephemera fell out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add an eyelet right onto the cover, right in the corner. So I'm going to punch a hole with the big bite, and then I'm going to change the setting, and then I'm going to add the eyelet. You change the setting because then it squishes down the metal and it makes it permanent. Um, so usually I do removable journal charms. That's something I've always done in all the years that I've created journals. I use a paper clip. If you're looking for that tutorial, I believe it is here on YouTube, if not for sure on Patreon and TikTok. And but I thought this one would be really fun since it's for me very outside of the box. Um, and I have lots of little random goodies. I thought it would be fun to just put an eyelet right on the cover and use all of those little vintage odds and ends to create a very just sort of grungy journal charm after I put that ephemera back into the pocket. So here is the fun part. You just start piecing together all of your little goodies. So I have a rusted bell. I had this little tiny, I didn't realize it, this little tiny like book ring. And I thought, because I was originally going to use a bolt pin, but I thought, oh my gosh, look how cute this little tiny book ring is. And so I was all excited. And then I realized, oh, it actually doesn't stay together very well. So I guess it's too old and worn. So I end up nixing that idea and I go back to the bulb pin, which looks great. That was the original plan anyway. So I just use a bulb pin and I stick that bulb pin right through the round end of that very vintage safety pin. It's like a sewing safety pin. I found that in a junk drawer in a sewer's estate sale. She had so many like industrial sewing machines and a million buttons. I bought so many things there. I don't even remember. I've used so many throughout the years. So, and one of the things I bought was a whole bag of these very old, rusty kind of looking sewing safety pins. So this is a whole nother little goodie I found. It's somebody, when people used to save buttons, they used to just put string or safety pins through them to keep the like buttons with the like buttons. And this person had used really old thread. So I'm just sort of making sure it's secure. I'm going to keep it on that vintage thread. So I'm just tying a few more knots and I'm just going to stick it right onto the safety pin because I think that's so sweet. Just a little, they're all these like little vintage buttons in a little cluster. So I add that. And this was a key from a junk drawer. And so it still has all its very rusty little key hooks. And so I'm going to add a rusty bell onto one. I'm going to keep all of that little metal goodness on there. And I'm also just going to add that right onto the safety pin. I love the way this looks so far. I do feel like it needs a charm though. So see, as you can see, it's the perfect length. It's real primitive. There's just no other word. And I just love it so much. So I'm just going to continue to rifle through all these little bits. I end up finding the cutest little kettle charm. It is not vintage. I purchased it actually for a very specific journal charm that I never made. So I thought it would be perfect to use on here. So I'm going to dig through, find another bulb pin, stick it through the little charm part, and then I'm going to put it right onto the safety pin. And now I am so happy. A little kettle charm, a rusty bell, an old key, some old buttons, an old sewing safety pin. This is exactly what I wanted. And I'm so happy with the way this looks. So that was the last little bit of embellishing. Now that I've completed that, I would love to show you a flip through of this whole journal. Like I said, all of the process videos for all of the embellishing and the tutorials can all be found here, both on my main video page and in my shorts and on my TikTok. So this is the cover. I love it. We added doilies and sparkles and distress ink and fabric and just lots of goodies. Obviously that Santa napkin is just decoupaged right on the front. He is the main center of attention. I love it. The inside is lined with Tim Holtz 2023 holiday collection cardstock paper. These are some tags that I actually made on Patreon Live. All of the tags in here were made on a Patreon Live. You can't see, but they're sparkling and ink splats. And that Santa stamp is from Tim Holtz, I believe, a couple years ago. And that is also Tim Holtz ink I used to stamp that with. There's a little distress pocket. You can find this on my shorts. Made a little tag, some grungy candy canes, and just some embellishing down the side. There's also some more of that age tape right down the center because I put some vintage book pages throughout on the wallpaper. I also did that on Shorts and over on TikTok so that you can see how to cover up white space while keeping it very usable, just so it's not like a bright, vibrant white. It's just blends in a little bit more with the aesthetic of the journal. These are just some more goodies I stuck into that Tim Holtz tuck spot there that I stapled right to the page. There's that Santa stamp. Beautiful heavy duty wrapping paper. Once again, we just covered it up a little bit so it fit the vibe. You can still add lots of journaling on there. And these are some more of those little button clusters. I actually think they were from the same estate sale, so they belong to the same person, which is kind of cool. I distressed some tickets. Those are just from Amazon. It took longer than I thought to do that, but you can also find that process video. And I love the way it looked. So there's one of those paper clips we just made as well on some coffee stained paper. I would like to note that if you are interested in purchasing this journal, it may smell like coffee because there is a lot of coffee stained paper and products throughout. So that I just would like to note that so that you know. There's a little pocket that I used that I created. There's some lace, and that is a digital of an original 1910 Christmas postcard that I scanned. It's from my own collection. And this is another Tim Holtz paper that I love. More of that trim, no sew, very simple. You can find that process video if you want to see how I did that. Another tuck spot. This is another scanned piece from my personal collection, also from 1910 or 1902. I can't remember now, but it's just Father Christmas. This is a wooden clip, and I put a little Tim Holtz piece on there, and that is a very vintage nativity, the top of a box that those little plastic nativities used to come in, and more of that wrapping paper where we covered up some of the white space. There is that paper clip, the bell, and more ink splats, and you can't see, but there's the prettiest sparkle I used on there. You just can't really see. It's very subtle, but it's beautiful in person. And there's another tag I made on a live, tucked into that little distressed pocket. And just a lot more paper. This is actually a piece from my current personal Christmas journal, so that's nice that that's in there. I decoupaged this Spode napkin onto this vintage book page. That's some removable Tim Holtz ephemera that you can use in the journal, and just a few more pages and we're about done. I also have this really cute vintage page, little writing pad on the back. I made this on a Patreon live. It just was really fun. It's totally removable. So if you don't want it there, you don't have to have it there. It's just a really fun way to add maybe like a little mini list journal to the back of your journal. It's very simple. I'll go ahead and make a process video for this to put on my Shorts too, because it's very easy. And I added a rusty bell and I have it clipped with a little vintage style clip. There's lots of goodies sticking out of this journal. It is quite packed and it's really fun. I think it will bulk up really nicely if you plan to use it as a December daily or just as a Christmas journal. I have it wrapped with some tatty fabric. I love the way this bow is looking because I've undone it and retied it so many times. I think it has that perfect sort of grungy look, and I am just in love with this journal. So like I said, this is currently available in my journal. If it has sold out, I will be sure to update that in the description box. It also comes with this little primitive ephemera pack. There's an ornament. There's lots of dyed pieces, dyed fabric, grungy candy canes, a couple Tim Holtz pieces, some tea, tags, metal rim tags, and some vintage sheet music to get you started in creating. It was just lots of little odds and ends that I thought would be perfect for this journal. So I thought I'd make a little ephemera kit to include with the person who wishes to order this journal. So thank you so much for coming along on this journey. It was so much fun. You can find all the tutorials here on YouTube and on my Shorts. So thanks for watching and have a very happy holidays. Bye now.